Welcome to Cards Hub post-game show. Grant Salsman, Stefan, Caray here for you on Sports Hub STL. What a game it was for the St. Louis Cardinals, sweeping the Arizona Diamondbacks. Touch on our sponsors first before we get into all the action. It was an amazing Sunday afternoon at the ballpark. Of course, this show is brought to you by Hot Shots, St. Louis's home for all the games all the time since 1990. Find yours at hotshotsnet.com. All content here provided by DraftKings. The crown is yours. Every opportunity to lose that game for the Cardinals, every opportunity for the Cardinals to lose this series, but they find a way. They bent but didn't break, and that's sort of been the mantra for this team here in 2025.
Yeah, I think all three games, the Cardinals trailed at some point in this series. Late, too, 6th, 7th inning, they trailed in all of these games. Found a way Friday, Saturday, and today. Was really impressed with Sonny Gray, sticking with it. We've seen him blow up at times in an inning or two, and he stuck with it, went 6 strong, gave his team a chance. So this team is resilient, and they're special so far.
They certainly are. One thing to note about this series at large, Corbin Carroll hitless for the Diamondbacks. That is a huge, huge aspect of these games that I think maybe we haven't mentioned enough. You keep off their best base runner, their best base stealer, and their most dynamic player, and you find a way to win by margins, very small margins against the D-backs, a team that has been known to come back over the last few years in games where they trail.
Yeah, it was small margins, and the margin we literally just saw 10 minutes ago was Nolan Arenado getting that ball in. If he doesn't get that ball in time when he's diving over the net, making that play, they advance to second and third and then get another run since he was in the netting, which, by the way, one of the strangest rules I've seen. I did not realize that was implemented, but those small margins, keeping, an MVP caliber player in Corbin Carroll off the bases all series long. I mean, if you can shut down the best player, it makes a lot of other players have to step up, and the Diamondbacks didn't.
Totally agree, and it was certainly great for the Cardinals. They're now a season-high 7 games above 500. Ivan Herrera, another big day at the plate, a couple of RBIs. He was coming in clutch at every opportunity. What have you noticed from his contributions over the last week or so?
I think with Herrera, it's just he can hit to all fields. I think really that first week before he got hurt, he was pulling everything. He was hitting some homers, obviously. And then since we've seen him come back, it's been every time it feels like the Cardinals need a run to get things going. It's him either taking the ball the opposite way, taking it where it comes from. Like, he's just not trying to do too much, which I know is a cliche, but that's really what it feels like, how his hitting's going right now is just he's taking it exactly what he needs to do with each pitch.
A huge win for St. Louis to escape from home, if you can believe it, against a team like the Arizona Diamondbacks. But you don't sweep teams like the Diamondbacks unless you are figuring it out, unless this is some sort of fluke. But I think that we can say, based on their performances this month, 16 of their last 20, that this isn't a fluke anymore. And at what point, Grant, we have to ask the question, do you buy in if you're a fan? Because I think that train has left the station. You need to buy in. If you aren't getting on board now, don't bother getting on board halfway through the season.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're not bought in right now, then I don't know what you want. Do you want them, like, I guess you're expecting Dodgers level, or what the Tigers are doing right now? Like, if you're not bought in now, I don't know if you're really a fan of the Cardinals. Like, this is a special kind of comeback revitalization of the season. That first few weeks, it felt pretty bleak. I don't blame fans for not being bought in. And so far, I mean, this team's fun too. Bush was electric this weekend. It was really electric today, closing that out in the late innings. So I think it's time you get to the ballpark, you buy all the way in.
The crowd was lively today, to say the least. Again, smaller crowds than maybe what we're used to seeing at Busch Stadium over the last few years. The team had struggled. Now this is looking more like Cardinals baseball. They're manufacturing runs. But one play in particular, and you kind of hinted at it a little bit earlier, really ignited that crowd. And it was Nolan Arenado barreling into the stands. Another tremendous play against Ketel Marte. It did move runners up to second and third. So we'll touch on that play first. But also, let's discuss Phil Maton coming in and picking up the save. You have to have some pretty big nerves to be able to pull that off against a team like Arizona.
Yeah, and that at bat with Gurriel to get him out. I mean, that sequencing he had there was amazing. He had Corbin Carroll, who probably could have bunted, moved the runners over even further, struck him out. Just it didn't start well, but good closers, good relievers, they find ways to pitch themselves out of trouble. We feel like Ryan Helsley, every single time he's out there, might teeter that line, and he finds a way to get out of it. That's what Phil Maton did today. And the bullpen has found ways to help this team win. I know they kind of blew it yesterday, but the bullpen has been consistent enough. And when your offense can pick up, when your bullpen blows games, that's how good teams win a lot of games. And Maton was great today.
And there was really no margin for error for St. Louis in this one. They found ways to get back in the game, ways to take leads. And even when you saw them down 2-0 in the first inning, it didn't feel like they were out of it. It didn't feel like today that this was a game where they were just going to take their feet off the gas pedal like last Sunday against the Tigers. So it's good to see them finding a way. Or was it the last Wednesday? Excuse me.
Yeah.
Wednesday. I get Wednesdays and Sundays so confused because they're the travel days. But just like the ending of the last series against the Tigers, they really put it on.
Well, yeah, and I think what's different about this team is that maybe a month or two ago, and surely last year, they go down 2-0 in the first inning, and you might not really pay attention the rest of the game. They're probably going to lose 6-1, 7-1, kind of just roll over, where that did not happen. That's not what this team is. It feels like, even like you said, when the Tigers, they lost 5-1 on Wednesday, it still felt like for a majority of that game, they could have come back and had a chance. Like, this team feels different. The atmosphere feels different than we've seen the last few years.
It's fun to watch Major League Baseball do their power rankings of these teams. And I think they're starting to take notice of the Redbirds. And this is a great comment here from Dalton Ferris. Did not have Arenado and Wilson Contreras lead a young, scrappy Cardinals with fantastic defense and just as strong bats to winning the NL Central. A very poignant point because, well, I don't think very many people did. I don't think people expected their window to start being open as early as it has, but they've found a winning recipe. A lot of the credit goes to those veterans, but the young guys for buying in, and also to Ollie Marmol and the staff for putting them in a position to succeed.
Yeah, I mean, not a lot of people thought this was going to happen. If you would have told Cardinals fans, let's say things hold how they are going into June, on June 1st, they're 2 games out of the NL Central and tied for a third wildcard spot, I think everyone would have taken that. I don't think anyone would have been upset about that. And the way that Ollie Marmol is managing this club is really fun to watch. It just feels like his decision-making has been really sharp. I've really been a fan of his bullpen management. Like, I really love putting Maton in. And obviously the move looks better now that Maton got the save, but I thought that was the right matchup there. You don't have Helsley. You already pitched Romero. I like putting Maton in there. I think what Marmol's done with this club so far, it feels like they're all bought in.
No doubt about it. And there's no time to rest as they will face the Orioles at Camden Yards tomorrow on Memorial Day, which will be a whole lot of fun. We'll touch on that in a moment. But as we mentioned earlier, this show, the Cards Hub Post-Game Show, is brought to you by Hot Shots, who invite you to come out to their St. Charles location on Sunday, June 1st. That is a week from today, to celebrate their 35th anniversary. The fun starts at noon with a parking lot party featuring the Budweiser Clydesdales. Prizes will be given away all day. There's going to be a dart tournament at noon, a bags tournament at 2, plus a chance to win Hot Shots tacos for a year. Congratulations to Hot Shots on 35 years. Hot Shots, St. Louis is home for all the games all the time since 1990. Find yours at hotshotsnet.com. Well, wow. I mean, you could finally take a breath and enjoy the fact that the Cardinals won that one, Grant. But I want to talk about some strategy for the Diamondbacks. And as the people have heard ad nauseum on this show, is the deep respect I have for that organization and my time spent in their minor leagues with those guys. But I was surprised to see in the 9th inning, runners on first and second, not laying a bunt down with Corbin Carroll, who had yet to record a hit. We know his tools, but you move the guys over second and third, that catch by Arenado results in a run.
Yeah, I think Corbin Carroll's one of the best players in the MLB. I have huge respect for him, but I think there's a very short list, and maybe you count on one hand, of guys that shouldn't be bunting in that situation. And Corbin Carroll's not quite on that list, and Corbin Carroll's like a skilled batsman. You have confidence in him to lay down that bunt. I mean, with the guys that were coming up, Ketel Marte to that point had been really hot in the series. I know he's 1 for 4 entering that at bat, Gurriel as well. But I think you're confident you can drive a run in with the sac fly, or the weird ruling that ended up happening with Arenado's would have driven in a run. Yeah, I think you should be bunting every single time in that situation.
I totally agree. And considering Corbin Carroll's speed, it's not a guaranteed out if he gets that bunt down. That is the thing. And I think that the philosophy there was, even if he pulls the ball to the right side, the runner will get over to third, and you're not going to double up Carroll because of his speed in that spot. So I understand it. Maybe you're trying to play for the lead. The Diamondbacks have been sort of an all or nothing team in the past. And it's certainly one that I'm sure will cause a lot of debate. But the Cardinals benefited from it, and Maton striking out Carroll in what has been an off series for number 7 was really big for St. Louis. Hey, fans, reminder to get involved in the conversation. Follow us on our YouTube page and discuss all of your Cardinals topics. We'll talk about it here on Sports Hub STL. Grant Salsman here with Stefan Caray. Again, Cardinals win 4-3 against the Diamondbacks. Maybe not quite ready to turn the page on this series. A few more things to touch on, but the Cubs go and beat the Reds. They have 7 runs unanswered late in the game. That's the second time in this series the Reds build a big lead, and the Cardinals trying to just keep nipping at the heels of the Cubs, with the Cubs not letting them get too close.
Yeah, I think, what was it, from May 10th to June 6th, the Cubs don't play a winning team in the MLB. So, it's tough to look at standings May 25th. But it is frustrating if you're a Cardinals fan how well the Cardinals are playing and how easy the Cubs' schedule is. But things will flip. Don't worry. That the Cardinals' schedule lightens up and the Cubs loads up heavily again. So I think the big goal here, and I talked to Britton Schaefer a lot, we talked about this, was staying within striking distance, arm's length of the Cubs in this run was important. And if you're 2-3 games, June 6th out, you're feeling pretty good about that. That's job definitely well done of staying within striking distance.
Yeah, and I think that these two teams mirror each other in a lot of ways. They have good young talent. Pete Crow Armstrong, of course, for the Cubs. The Cardinals have a plethora of young talent that you can point to. But there are going to be some really good matchups at Busch Stadium and Wrigley Field this summer. I'm not going to say it's going to be 1998 all over again, but there will be no love lost between these two here in 2025.
Which I think was fun. I mean, I can't remember the last time the Cardinals Cubs have had a serious, those two going at it throughout the summer for the division. Part of that is when the Cubs are good, it feels like the Cardinals aren't as good, and vice versa, obviously. But this would be a lot of fun if it's those teams kind of vying for 1 and 2 in the NL Central all summer long.
Yesterday, one of the big topics for the Cardinals was a struggle on defense. They've been one of the best defensive teams in baseball. Jordan Walker laying out for a sinking line drive, cleared the bases, found a way to give the D-backs the lead. And then, of course, the little bloop that dropped in the later stages of Game 2 of this series. They played excellent defense today, namely that play by Nolan Arenado, but also a couple of big plays by Wynn, by the middle infield. Just good to see them getting back on track and not letting yesterday's game affect them too much.
Yeah, and I think it was Walker maybe in the 5th inning that had a nice play ranging back to the wall as well. A play that he probably should have made, but we've seen him not make it in the past. So I think just that little boost of confidence. Speaking of Walker, I mean, it feels like he's finding something a little bit with his hitting. A nice hit today, almost had a home run to center field today as well, and got an infield single. So sometimes it feels like when you're breaking out of the slump is finally when those infield singles, one hoppers find a way through and you get that average up a little bit.
And on a warmer day, that probably gets out in center field, the line drive that he hit to Alek Thomas. So frustrating, but the swings are there. Had a single. He has his average back up above the Mendoza line. And it's a lot more palatable to look at his name on a lineup hitting above 200 rather than well under it. You start to see, okay, we can give him this runway now. It is defensible to give him this runway. And at some point, like you said about the Cubs and the Cardinals in terms of their scheduling, things are going to turn around for Walker. And I think we're starting to see the beginning of that.
Yeah, and another guy, too, who, I mean, his line's not as low. Nolan Arenado has been putting together some really good at-bats as of late. And I know he's not been the Nolan Arenado, fans maybe are expecting, but it feels like he's going to turn and get red hot as well because he's making some good contact, just finding gloves right now, not finding a hole. Those will turn, too. And I think those are two guys I'm really expecting, the next few weeks, I think, could really get on a streak and get those numbers up.
as it gets warmer, the ball is going to start to fly. A lot of close calls at the warning track or the wall over the last few games for the Cardinals and the Diamondbacks. So I'm looking forward to that turning to gold for St. Louis. And with regards to Nolan Arenado, he might not be swinging at his best right now, but the defense has been more than valuable for this team. So that's really all that we have on this conversation regarding the D-backs and the Cardinals. But it is important to remind you folks that Cards Hub post-game show and all content here on Sports Hub STL is provided by DraftKings. And baseball season is officially underway. It's time to step up to the plate with DraftKings Pick 6. Think of DraftKings Pick 6 as your fastball right down the middle. It's the easiest way to play for cash and take a shot at a big win. Just select 2 or more players and choose if they'll have more or less of a stat. Pick 6 is available in most states, including California, Texas, Georgia, Missouri, and more. Cash in your baseball knowledge. New players get $50 in Pick 6 credits instantly on just a $5 entry. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app and use code STL Sports. That's code STL Sports for new customers to play $5, get $50 in Pick 6 credits. Better payouts, bigger wins. Only with Pick 6 from DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 and over. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. 1 per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 credits that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
This is the Cards Hub post-game show. He's Grant Salsman. I'm Stefan Caray. The Cardinals win 4-3. They sweep the D-backs. They've won 16 of their last 20. Now it's time to turn the page and focus on their next opponent, the Baltimore Orioles, or the embattled Baltimore Orioles, who are one of the most enigmatic teams in Major League Baseball this year. They have the second worst record in the American League. They'll have Charlie Morton going out on the mound tomorrow.
Yeah, this is a team that I think the Orioles are still better than what their record shows. The lineup is still there. This pitching staff is not good. This is a series that you could really see some guys who are maybe slumping or just kind of average on the Cardinals really break out. Because as you said, the schedule's flipping. The Cardinals this lineup could feast on this pitching rotation of the Orioles.
Morton has had his fair share of struggles this year. Again, one of the older pitchers in Major League Baseball, yet to have a win. He's 0-7 with a 7.68 ERA. Got off to a really tough start, though. In the month of April, 0-5, 9.26. He settled down a bit. 4.40 ERA this month. So maybe Morton has found his groove a little bit, but it's going to be up to the Cardinals to getting him out of the game early. He's yet to go more than 5 innings at any start. How important will it be for St. Louis to get into that bullpen in Game 1?
Yeah, I think getting in that bullpen in Game 1, especially because this series, you don't have your 1 or 2. If you're going Liberatore Gray as the 1-2, which I think you would classify those as. So it's important that, you might need your bullpen a few times in this game. There might be a game or two where a starter for the Cardinals, whether it be Palante, Fetty, whoever, maybe doesn't pitch as well, and you have to get some more runs out produced from the offense. So getting to that Orioles bullpen in Game 1 and have them taxed for Game 2 and 3, I think will be really important in this series where you have your 3, 4, 5 going.
And that Orioles starting rotation, as you mentioned, has really struggled. The offense has not been great either for Baltimore. Adley Rutschman not having quite the numbers we're used to seeing him have. Jackson Holliday has performed. Gunnar Henderson has played not quite as well as you would expect, but certainly not poorly. This is a very different team than we're used to seeing with Baltimore over the last few seasons. And a lot of people have talked about, hey, is their competitive window gone? You went from this titan in the AL East to now right back in the cellar in about a year and a half's time. It's really confounding to think about how things have turned for Baltimore.
Yeah, I don't know if competitive window gone, but it did feel like that previous window they had closed, and now you have to open a new one. Sometimes you'll see the window closed for a year and then opens, but this feels like it's maybe another year or two rebuild for the Orioles. I wouldn't expect them next year to be back to winning 97, 98 games. I think it just comes down to you got to develop some pitching talent. It feels like they have all the infield talent, hitting talent in the world. It's the pitching talent that they're lacking on, and that's what wins you games at the major league level.
I'm excited to see what Elias and company will do with their young prospects that haven't quite made it to the show or have not quite contributed at the major league level yet, like Kobe Mayo, like Enrique Bradfield, the players that they have in their farm system that they can dish away for starting pitching. That's the one piece they're missing, and the Cardinals look to take full advantage of that. Now, I'm not saying they're going to go into Camden Yards and sweep the Orioles, but you have a tough test with the Rangers coming up as well, who are a better team, who have known success, but on a downward slide. Do you think it's possible we could see the Cardinals coming back from this 10 games above 500?
10 games above 500. What's their record right now? 30.
They're 7 over right now.
Oh, so 7. I'd say probably not 10 games above 500. I think they go maybe 4-2 over this. It's a 6-game stand, correct?
6-game stint. Yep.
Yeah, so I'd say I'm going to go they win 2 series, but 2 out of 3 in both. That puts them at 9 over. That's what I would say. 5-1 would be obviously amazing, but I think the Rangers are too tough of a test, and you'll probably drop 1 in Camden Yards.
Stacking wins of paramount importance. You'll come back and face the Royals and then the big bad Los Angeles Dodgers at Busch Stadium, which I know is going to be rocking. And hopefully it'll be rocking not just because the Dodgers are in town, because people have bought fully back into this team, and we'll start seeing the Busch Stadium of old. Now, I think with the Orioles, there are a couple guys you got to keep quiet. Henderson being one, and Holiday being the other. You have some guys in the middle of that order, but scoring runs, I think, is the biggest thing for St. Louis.
Yeah, and it feels like, too, the Orioles are maybe what the Cardinals were the last 2 years, where if you can jump on them early, they might not have the fight to come back. So like you said, we've talked about getting to those starting pitchers quick might just kind of kill any resolve that team has left. You know, if you put 3-4 up and you're up 4-1 in the 5th, like that might be enough to kind of coast to some victory. So I think runs, and especially runs off the starters in those first 4 or 5 innings, are going to be really crucial this upcoming series.
A little bit more on the starters. Charlie Morton in his career against St. Louis, 4-12, 5.03 ERA. That's 22 appearances against St. Louis. Remember all those years in Pittsburgh. So he is familiar with the Cardinals, but has not found his groove yet in 2025. Eric Fetty, eye-popping numbers against the Baltimore Orioles, 2-0. Take a guess at what his ERA is against the Orange Birds, if you will, in 4 appearances.
4? I'm going to go 1.83.
Good guess, 0.38. So he has done really good work in the D.C., Maryland, Virginia area in his career. He already had a great start against the Nationals when they faced them at Nationals Park. So maybe he can repeat that just up the road in Baltimore. So any final thoughts before we sign off?
Yeah, I think that, the road woes are fully gone. I'm just thinking about this road trip. Last one is really when things got going. And now look at all the momentum they built. I think this team, I wouldn't worry too much about standings yet as fans. I know you always want to be checking. I always want to see what the Cubs are doing. But just stick on the Cardinals. I would say after June 6th, once the Cubs are done, that's when I think you can really be standings watching. Once they're done with that easy schedule, that's when I think the Cardinals will really be able to make their move. Right now, it's just about treading water, staying within arm's length of Chicago. And it starts with winning 2 of 3, win series. That's what the Cardinals need to do, stack those wins against teams you're better than. The Cardinals are better than the Orioles. I think they're probably better than the Rangers, too.
The Cardinals sweep the Diamondbacks with a thrilling 4-3 win. Again, the Cardiac Cardinals, which, again, is kind of cliche, but they had a great performance this weekend at Busch Stadium. For everyone here at Sports Hub STL, this has been the Cards Hub post-game show presented by Hot Shots. All content provided by DraftKings. The crown is yours. For Grant Salsman, I'm Stefan Caray. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow as the Cardinals open a 3-game series against Baltimore.